Hello one, hello all, CP here. We're coming up on one of the bigger slash unofficial starts to the blockbuster season here in America, and I figured we might as well talk about what we have so far before it gets really, really full and exaggerated and bing bang boom movies. And somebody who I talk to quite often about movies over on his channel came by and decided to help. Bryan from Bryan Lomax Movie Talk, why don't you say hello to my people?
Hello, CP's people. Good to be here for a change.
Yeah, so we have, here in America, actually, it's not this weekend. Next weekend, Civil War comes out. And out by you, I think it comes out like tomorrow, right?
Yeah, I've got a funny feeling I've missed the midnight showing tonight. I think there's a midnight showing tonight that I've missed, but hey ho.
Oops.
Where else would I rather be?
I'll take offense to that, but no problem. Yeah, so we're not actually talking about that. We're talking about the road up to it, because this is like the unofficial start of blockbuster season, but we've had a couple of decent movies that have come out already, a couple that really aren't very good at all. And one movie that was supposed to be rather large, that started off nice and large, but maybe puttered out. Bryan, what so far for 2016, what would you say your favorite movie is so far?
Well, really depends, because obviously, like a lot of the YouTube community tend to go off US release dates, whereas the only reason I don't like to go off US release dates is because by the time we get to the end of the year each year and everyone does their top 10 videos, all the videos that tend to end up in people's top 10s don't actually get released here until like January, February, because that's usually like the Oscar season.
Yeah.
So if we go off US release dates, then I would say that Room is still my UK release dates.
Oh.
No? Yeah, if we go off UK release dates, then Room is still my favorite so far this year, with Batman v Superman coming up second. But obviously, US release dates, that kind of gets rid of Room and puts Batman v Superman in my number one spot.
Batman v Superman at number one, really? So,
call me a fanboy.
Fanboy. No. Do you have Revenant in that list at all?
Revenant's actually at number 4.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh. Okay.
That's with Room at number 1, Batman v Superman at number 2, Eye in the Sky at number 3, and The Revenant at number 4.
And Deadpool?
Deadpool is at number 6.
Well then, your list is quite intriguing. Stark contrast in comparison to mine. I have Revenant at 1, Deadpool at 2, The Witch at 3, Batman vs Superman at 4, Jungle Book at 5.
Jungle Book's at my number 12.
I haven't seen that much of Jungle Book's right around the midway point for me. So we might as well start off with it. Good night from Belgium. Either hello or goodbye, culture freak. Batman vs Superman. What is it that you're seeing that everybody? Well, I mean, let me stop, because not everybody hates it. Not everybody thinks it's okay. So there's a lot of people that love it, and you're clearly one of them. What did they do so well, so right, as far as you're concerned?
I'm just a Batman fanatic. I've been a Batman fanatic since 1991, Christmas of 1991, and I just love Ben Affleck's take. I actually love the way Zack Snyder directs, and I think that if people had have taken some of the valid criticisms, and there are a few valid criticisms of Batman v Superman out there, if they'd taken those criticisms and just talked about them, then like I'd be okay with that. But a lot of the criticisms that I've found with the film do actually have answers within the film, so it almost feels like real nitpicking. And then when you respond with the answers to those criticisms that are there in the film, then the people you're talking to come back with something else. It's like, oh well, what about this? Well, actually, when you start doing that, it really does sound like you're trying to hate this film,
Right.
which annoys me. So I think that kind of makes me dig my heels in more. Like I say, I'm not blind. There are things, and I pointed these things out in my reviews of the film, that I think there are problems. But a film of that scale, dealing with two such iconic characters, I think it gets so much right that I really want to see the 3-hour cut of the film.
Yeah.
I really do. So
well, so in particular, like what is it that you think that people that you're defending? Like I think it's a bit choppy at times. I don't know what you're referring to that people are saying that is in the movie, but do you know off the top of your head like something that?
Well, like certainly when it first came out, one of the big ones was, there's no fun in it. There's no fun.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, well, actually, if you're a Batman fan or a Superman fan, if you're a DC fan, there's plenty of fun in there, because what you're really saying is it's not funny, and there's a difference between funny and fun. And it's like, for me, seeing Batman and Superman in a movie together, beating seven bells out of each other, that is a lot of fun. Okay, it's not funny in the sense that a lot of Marvel films are. I love Marvel films. I love the fact that they're funny. But I don't want that from my DC films. I want my DC films to be dark. I want them to be serious. And that, to me, is fun. That is the fun aspect of going to see a DC movie. The Dark Knight is a very dark film. It's a very serious film. But it's a very fun film to watch because it fulfills so many tick boxes of what, to me, makes a good movie.
Mm-hmm. What about the fact that the fight scene in Man of Steel basically kind of preempted what we see in Batman vs Superman? I mean, the way Zod and Superman fight is basically what you're seeing with Batman vs Superman. I mean, they're fighting across cities and flying and doing all this crazy stuff. I mean, hell, we even see it a bit in in Batman vs Superman, the spillover from Man of Steel. My thing, like one of my disappointments with Batman vs Superman was it didn't feel like it was a bigger deal. It didn't feel bigger. It felt like the way that they were fighting and some of the beats of the fight were very similar to the way Zod and Superman were fighting in Man of Steel. Like it wasn't anything fresh as far as the way the fight was going is concerned.
I felt that it was more of a personal story in many ways, more of an intimate story in many ways. Like they went big with Zod with regards to the action. It's like I felt this one was more. It was more about the characters. It was more about what is it that Bruce is afraid of? What has turned a good man cruel, as Alfred puts it. Because that's really what it's all about. It's all about Bruce and his parents. The death of his parents made him the man that he was, but that man in a way, he kind of became a man without fear until this alien arrived who could potentially wipe out the entire planet. And it actually makes him afraid. And there are a couple of moments in the film where you see literal fear in Bruce, in Batman. Particularly the moment where he's punching Superman in the face and then he goes stiff and like he realizes he's got his powers back, and you literally see Batman go, "Oh shh."
Never mind, Samuel, you could say it.
I don't want it.
He meant to say, "Oh shit."
It's just like, I don't know. To me, it just it just felt more of a personal battle to me. It was more the war was being waged inside it, with Bruce's stubbornness, with Bruce's fear, with his anger, with everything that kind of makes him who he is, being kind of dealt with in that lobby, in that abandoned swimming pool or whatever it was, where they end up having their final tussle. But I don't know. I mean, like what were you expecting from it? What did you want from that fight that it didn't deliver?
I don't know, because like they're the marquee characters. I guess, you know, just something bigger. I don't know. It just, like them slamming into walls and, you know, going across the room and going across the city, whatever. Like it, like I said, you know, as far as the beats of it, it was all quite similar. It would have been neat to see like different. Yeah, first of all, a longer fight. I felt
I think we'll get that in the extended cut.
I hope so.
Mm-hmm.
Like when it's Batman versus Superman, like that, you have it. Like you don't need to have Lex Luthor. You don't need to have the Justice League. You don't need to have all this other stuff. And Amy Adams, it's. I mean, yeah, if you want to kickstart your series or whatever, you could do that towards the end. But like, make it Batman versus Superman.
See, that's the other criticism that you just mentioned, the Amy Adams thing, the whole Lois Lane thing. People say that her subplot has no impact on the story, but it does, because without her digging, the military wouldn't find out that metal from the bullet is the same metal that that made the wheelchair that blows up Congress. It's her piecing that together that gives them a link to Lex Luthor having blown up not Congress, but where they're having the trial stuff, because it says that in the newspaper at the end, and I don't know. I just to me that wasn't. I just feel like people missed stuff.
Well, you've also admitted to being a Batman fan. Another of the gripes has been that it's really more focusing on Batman, when technically it's sort of a pseudo Superman sequel. Do you think maybe you'd think a little bit differently if you were more of a Superman fan?
Not at all, because I don't see this as a Superman sequel. I never have. And it's like people get into this mentality where it's like, oh, because we started that with that character and he's coming back, then this is a Superman sequel, and it's not. It's a DC universe sequel, and it's like I think we need to start getting on the wavelength that, you know, this is a film that is part of a wider universe, and it's like, you know, the Captain America film that's coming out now. I don't really see it as a Captain America film, and I see it as it's a Marvel film. It's within the Marvel world. It may focus a little bit more on Captain America, but Iron Man's in there. All the other Avengers are in there.
There's like 12 people in that movie. Yeah,
it's basically Avengers 2.5.
Yeah.
You know, and I've got no problem with that, because we've established the fact that, you know, these films now share each other's world, kind of thing. So that's just the way you've got to approach them. Now, if we weren't living in a world of shared universes, then yeah, I might be a bit disappointed that this ended up being a lot more Batman and a little less Superman. But it's not. It's one film. within the DC universe. So they can choose to focus on whatever character they want. And the film isn't called Man of Steel 2. It's called Batman v Superman. They've established right from the outset that this isn't a Man of Steel sequel. It's, like I say, that the second part of DC's new cinematic universe. And that's just the way I've always accepted it. And I loved Man of Steel. I'm one of the guys who, from the outset, has said how much I loved it and how it's underrated. And I've been championing it for the past few years since it came out.
I agree.
So I want to see a Man of Steel sequel as much as anyone. I'm just glad that we got these characters in the same film as each other and that they were handled, in my mind, pretty well. I don't think personally that they should have gone with Doomsday in the film. I think I wasn't overly keen on Doomsday's design,
right?
And I think they kind of wasted one of Superman's biggest villains. The way I would
storyline too, yeah,
biggest storyline. It's like how you can't come back and do the Doomsday storyline again. It's just like, for me, the way I would have done it is I would have had Batman and Superman fight, and then I would have had Superman going off to get Lex Luthor, and Lex Luthor having also, manufactured some form of weapon with the kryptonite and having a bit of a thing with Superman at the ship, and then Batman going off to save Clark's mum, like they do, and resolving it that way, and ending the film once Lex Luthor's been apprehended. And then maybe, you could allude, maybe in an after credit sequence, you could allude to the fact that actually Lex Luthor has just got the ball rolling on what will eventually become Doomsday.
Right.
So then that's a seed that is planted for a later film. Doomsday is going to come, and it's because of Lex. But you don't kind of shoehorn it in at the end of the film. But for me, it's just that wasn't needed. Make the Batman Superman fight longer, then have Superman go off and deal with Lex, and Batman go off and deal with the KG Beast.
So rank it in Batman movies. You could exclude Man of Steel. Where does Batman vs Superman fit all time with your Batman movies?
Are we talking animated films as well?
No.
Well, Dark Knight trilogy is my favorite film of all time.
We're counting three as one, I see. Okay.
Yeah, well, it's just like Dark Knight, Batman Begins, Dark Knight Rises, though there's very little between them, to be honest. Then Batman v Superman.
Okay.
Although, saying that, see, Mask of the Phantasm was released theatrically. I know it's animated, but it was released theatrically, so I'm going to count that.
Okay.
I'm going to say Mask of the Phantasm, then Batman v Superman, then the first Tim Burton Batman, then Batman Returns, Batman Forever, Robin, and then I think the 60s Batman and Robin are kind of on a par, really.
Luke from Razor Wire has commented, Doomsday, aka they have a cave troll.
Cave troll.
Cold shoulder to Batman animated films from CP. Tut tut. Well, he kind of shoehorned one in there anyway. So, yeah. Guess who's here? Hey, Miles. Jumping around all over the place. Clearly, Batman 66 is the best Batman film. No, it's just a product of a really, really, really different time.
See, it's like the 66 Batman is like you say, it is a product of its time. But even as a Batman fan, I have to confess that I've never been able to get through it in one sitting without falling asleep.
Mm-hmm.
I do find it a great cure for insomnia. I still like it. I like the cheesiness of it. I like just the nostalgia factor. But
Yeah.
I get to that moment just before the Penguin is getting Batman and Robin to get him to the Batcave. Just before the rehydration thing, and it's just like I'm gone. I'm asleep. I wake up half an hour later and they're all fighting on top of a submarine. Never know how they get there.
So why don't you let us know what? I mean, you've seen over 30 movies this year, right?
Yeah,
Bryan?
34 new releases. Yeah.
Do you want to just run down that list really quick, because there's going to be some discrepancies between the two of us?
Do you want me to start from top or bottom?
Whatever you want to do.
Should we start with my worst film so far this year?
Okay.
Okay, worst film that I've seen so far this year, which I gave a 1 out of 10. Literally walked out 10 minutes before the end. Zoolander 2.
Oh, okay.
There are not many movies I've walked out of, but I literally walked out of that.
I have not seen it, thankfully.
Wise decision.
Next.
Next is one that I'm going to get absolutely slated for, because I know a lot of people. This has been something of a critical darling, but I just thought it was a pretentious pile of crap. It was just High Rise.
What is it?
High Rise.
I haven't seen it.
It's got Tom Hiddleston in, and it's set within this tower block, and it feels like it should be a futuristic film. It feels like it's trying to be this futuristic film.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that's what it was. I thought it was set in the future, but it had this like 70s kind of feel to it. But then I was corrected when I did my review by someone who said, "Oh, you're a knobhead who doesn't know what he's talking about. It is set in the 70s." And I'm like, well, that really just goes to prove my point, which is that the tone of the film is just kind of so mismanaged that you can't really tell that it's meant to be this period piece. Everything feels 70s, and a lot of people might think, how can you not tell? It's obviously set in the 70s.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, but because of the story, because of the circumstances of what's going on, which is that, you know, this one guy owns this tower block, and everyone basically the lower you are in the tower block, the lower class you are. So everybody's fighting to get up some floors, and it's like, but it's so debauched, and like everyone, it's just non-stop parties in which debauched behavior goes on, and these people, none of which you like, even the main character, none of them have any kind of, you know, features about them that make them likable people. So you just sit there for like 2 hours watching these horrible people do horrible things, and you're like, what is this all about? So obviously, because of that, you think, is this set in the future? Because like, obviously, you wouldn't get away with this. This tower wouldn't be able to exist in modern society, or 70s society for that matter, and not get, you know, prosecuted, not get, I don't know, something would be done. So it kind of makes you think that it is this kind of dystopian future, but with a 70s aesthetic. But that's not the case at all. It is meant to be set in the 70s, and I just didn't pick up on that because of the mess that the film is. But yeah, but you know, it's been getting really good reviews. Loads of people love it. It's directed by Ben Wheatley, who seems to be getting a lot of praise from all quarters at the moment. But based on this evidence, it doesn't make me want to see his previous work.
It literally sounds like Snowpiercer, which Luke made mention of. And hey, Peter, Peter Movie Guy poked in. Can't watch long. He's go back and watch his daughter's school play. Have fun. We'll talk to you tomorrow, Peter. Guys, by all means, if you feel the need, let us know your favorite and least favorite film of 2016 thus far as we go along. Bryan, go ahead. Give us your next one.
If we're going up the list, 999.
Oh, I heard all right things about that. That's unfortunate.
It was just dull. It bored me. It literally bored me. It felt like a low rent Heat. Like,
okay.
Yeah, Heat is one of my favorite movies. It's like it's in my top 20 movies of all time, and I really like The Town as well. Ben Affleck film, The Town. So like, if Heat is a 10 out of 10 and The Town is an 8 out of 10, then 999 is like further down. But it's got some really good performances in it. Some great actors that, like, right across the board. The actors are all fantastic. Chiwetel Ejiofor, one of my favorites. Casey Affleck, who I really like. But it just doesn't come together. It's dull. I sat there and at least 3 times checked my watch, and I was just like, I'm actually bored by this. I shouldn't be bored by this. But I was, and I can't help how I felt. So there you go.
Next.
Ride Along 2.
Oh,
yeah.
That's low on mine. Actually, that is my worst film. So
Right.
I haven't seen anything else you've spoken about, and that is the lowest on my list.
So give me your thoughts on Ride Along 2 then.
Unnecessary. If you've seen Ride Along 1, unnecessary.
These kind of films are, though, aren't they? I mean, like Rush Hour 2 is unnecessary, but it's still enjoyable. Like,
yeah,
you can do a film like this right.
Yeah, it's. I mean, it's. I mean, I get it. It's a January release. It's hey, here's something sort of actiony, sort of funny for you
Generic.
who want to, right, that want to watch a movie, something new, and be there in January. But it's like you could do a little bit of work, man. Like this, it's just like you peel all the guts off of the skeleton of Beverly Hills Cop, or like you said, or Rush Hour, any of this stuff, and then you just put like new guts on top of the skeleton, and you just like, here, new stuff, and it's just like, okay, I guess, but there's nothing that grabs me and says, yes, this is something new, this is something fresh. It's just so. It's an extension of the first one. It makes the movies feel more like bad television, and it's just another episode of the series. It's just, I'd rather watch better. There's a hell of a lot more television I'd rather watch than Ride Along.
It could be said about so many films, though.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of really good television too. So that's really not fair. Oh wait, you know what? I'm reading Miles's list and I forgot one.
Fifth Wave.
No.
How to Be Single.
Movie for Miles has his list. We're going top to bottom. It's Zootopia. I don't have that here. I've seen that as well. His favorite.
What's Hunt for the Wilder People? Because I've not heard of that one.
That's something from New Zealand, which he just told me about yesterday. That's apparently it's a big deal over there in New Zealand. Right. Number 3 is Deadpool. Number 4 is Hush. That's a Netflix film, if I'm not mistaken.
It is.
Batman vs Superman, number 5. Ride Along 2, number 6. How to Be Single, number 7, and 8 is The Fifth Wave, which I've also heard rather horrible things about.
Yeah. It was like I said, like before we came on to do this, we you were about maybe us talking about young adult films, weren't you? And one of the reasons I didn't want to do that is because there's so many of them that I haven't seen, just because I can't bring myself to touch them with a barge pole. And Fifth Wave was kind of one of them. And I've not seen the sequels to the Divergent series. I saw the first Divergent film. It was so bad. I just could not bring myself to see the
They
others.
get worse. They get like very worse, if you could believe it. And finally, it looks like with that series, if it's good enough in the beginning, the people are going to stick around. Like that mentality looks to finally be breaking down, because that movie didn't do well at all. That third film. So maybe just maybe we're past this thing. Here, make 4 movies based on books and it'll be okay. No, I don't think that's the case anymore. And finally,
so I'm happy for them to do it as long as they make good movies. The Hunger Games are good movies. I still think the first Hunger Games film is the worst one of that series, but it's still a heck of a lot better than any of the Twilight films and any of the Divergent films.
I felt that Catching Fire was very, very good. Not even like good for young adult. That was just a really good movie as far as I was concerned.
Yeah. But I felt that way about the last one as well, if I'm being honest.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
I actually, for me, a film should make me feel something. And there were a few times during that last film that I actually got emotional for various reasons. Okay. It wasn't perfect. There was a couple of things that they needed to change about it. One thing primarily that could have made it a lot better, but overall, I really, really enjoyed it. I thought it was a great, fitting end to what has been a pretty decent series.
Mm-hmm. Okay. What do you have? Anything you want to say about Ride Along, Brian?
Just that it was just generic crap that we've seen 1,000 times before with better actors. Like the ones we've seen before have had better actors. I mean, not Ride Along 2. It just the first one, I will admit, because I saw it well after the fact, well after it had come out, and I'd heard so many bad things about it, and I literally I stuck it on one late one night, and I got a couple of giggles out of it. Some of the action was fairly decent, and I thought, that was all right. It was a low end 6 out of 10. Did what it said on the tin. So I went and checked out the sequel, and I was mildly optimistic about the sequel because I thought, I did mildly enjoy the first one. I might do the same with this, and I just sat there throughout thinking, there's like 10 other films that are playing in this cinema right now, even ones that I've already seen that I would rather watch again rather than sitting through this. It's not terrible. It's not unwatchable. It's just generic.
Yeah.
It does absolutely nothing to separate itself from the crowd.
Badly plain. I mean, almost criminally so. Like, just listen. When you're going to put money into a film and millions of dollars, like, why do that? Like, what about that? Is worth the money you guys spent on it. It's Luke from Razor Wire sent his list. Number 1, Anomalisa. Number 2, Zootopia. Number 3, Creed. Wow, you guys get stuff late, huh?
Yeah.
Number 4, The Revenant. Number 5, Spotlight. Number 6, The Danish Girl. Wow. 7, Batman vs Superman. And 8, Deadpool. Interesting.
So have you only seen 8 films, Luke, at the cinema? Is that all of them? So does that mean Deadpool? Does that mean Deadpool's your worst film so far?
It appears as if that's the case.
Man alive.
All right, so Ride Along. What do you have next, Brian?
Next up is Grimsby.
I have not seen that.
It's basically the latest film from Sacha Baron Cohen. Borat.
Okay, that's one where his brother's like his spy or something like that.
Yeah. I liked the trailer. The trailer made me laugh.
Mm-hmm.
But literally, watch the trailer and that's it. Stay away from the film because it's just. So Luke says that Deadpool was his worst, but he still enjoyed it quite a lot. So he gave it a 7 out of 10. So
yeah, I mean, in defense, that's a pretty stacked list he's got there.
yeah, so it's not necessarily that he thinks that's a terrible film. It's just that there's some pretty good competition in the rest of his list. So
right.
But yeah, what were we on? Grimsby. Just offensive humor. It's like, so I'm not a huge fan of the previous movies that Sacha Baron Cohen's done. His character stuff, but I do recognise that there's some intelligence there to it. I do recognise that, like with Borat, for example, taking that character, putting him in the streets of America in various situations, it allows him to poke fun at American culture. And, it is crude, but there's a certain level of cleverness there as well. So I've just spat on my screen. It's wipe that. But there's a certain level of cleverness there as well, where with Grimsby, there's just none of that. It's just crudeness throughout for the sake of crudeness. And at times it gets a little bit offensive, but it doesn't really have the kind of social commentary that something like Borat has in an intelligent way that Borat has it. So it just comes off as childish, offensive, and grotesque. So, yeah, a bit disappointing, really.
That kind of is the case with comedy. I mean, any big comedic whatever, they get big in the beginning, and then they almost just kind of are just following the motions of the earlier stuff. I mean, I don't know if you've seen The Boss, but that's on my list pretty low.
No, I'm not.
Well, that's Melissa McCarthy. She's a ex, she's rich, and she ran a Fortune 500 company or whatever. She gets arrested for, moving money illegally, and then she moves in with her old assistant, and she's helping her assistant's daughter around with her Girl Scout cookie thing, and teaches her how to, be a cutthroat at selling Girl Scout cookies. And it's just,
sounds a bit lame.
It is. And then of course they find a reason to throw Melissa McCarthy through a wall because I don't know, she's on a faulty bed, and that goes crazy. It's just
it's a shame because Melissa McCarthy is actually a very good actress. If you've seen, there are times in her films where she's able to do a turn like that, where she goes from comedy to actually making you feel something, like Identity Thief. It's not a fantastic film. It's not going to blow you away. It's perfectly all right. But there was a scene in that where suddenly she became vulnerable, like within a split second, and she did it from a performance standpoint. She did it beautifully, and she did the same. She played a really good character in what's it called? She was in a film with Bill Murray.
St. Vincent.
St. Vincent, yeah, which I really enjoyed. I think some people, there's a lot of dramatic beats in it that aren't necessarily the most original. It's a kind of character arc and a story setup that I've seen in quite a few other films, but I thought it handled it well. I thought it did a very good job of the material, and I thought she was fantastic in it as a dramatic actor, not just a comedic actor. So it's a shame that I don't know, that she's probably going to spend most of her career, as you say, flopping herself through walls and falling on her face and whatnot, because she is genuinely a good actress.
Right, right. And it is. It's just, it's just put her in a different situation and then find reasons for her to make funny faces and fall. Like, it's just like, all right, well,
yeah,
great. Next. So what do you have? What do you have next on your list, Brian?
Next is Point Break.
Whew.
No, I think you got that in December actually, but we got it over here. Later. I think we got it February or something like that.
You got it by accident too. It was just, we were throwing it in the sea because we didn't want it, and it just, I guess it floated over to you guys. You go, oh, a new movie.
Yeah, I mean, Point Break, man, it's one of the best action films of all time.
The original.
Like, yeah, why remake it? Why just, you could have literally taken this remake, stuck a completely different title on it, and just sold it as its own film. And it probably would have worked better. Everyone would have still said it's a Point Break ripoff. But by drawing attention to yourself, saying, hey, we are literally comparing ourselves up against the original Point Break, you're setting yourself up for a fall. Especially when you've got performances by actors that have absolutely no charisma whatsoever.
It was so stale.
It really was. And it's like the thing with the original Point Break is that the relationship between Bodhi and Utah, like Bodhi in that film, he came across as this kind of like spiritual kind of leader in a way, but it wasn't really through a lot of what was going on in the script. It was down to the performance from Patrick Swayze and just, I don't know, the way it was directed, the way it was set up, and because they were surfer dudes, and it just worked, it clicked. So it wasn't necessarily this huge intentional thing in the script,
right?
But because it became a thing with fans of the film, because people looked at it and thought, oh, the Bodhi character is this really, like, they jumped on that and they made it a thing in the remake. Like they turned that thing that people had picked up on and made their own, and then forced it into the remake, forced it into every aspect of the script, to the point where it felt like you were being hit over the head with this message that, hey, isn't Bodhi this cool kind of out there leader who's like, and by that point you're just like, no, he's not, because he's got no charisma,
right?
And he's just, and the guy who was playing Johnny Utah, quite frankly, made Keanu Reeves look like an Oscar winner.
Yeah. He makes what's his face, the guy from Terminator 5, and
Jai Courtney.
Yeah, he makes Jai Courtney look like.
I'll tell you what, those Suicide Squad trailers, I'll give them credit because they are the first trailers that have ever made me want to see Jai Courtney in a film.
Right. No, you're right. You're right. But Jai Courtney, oh, that's all I kept thinking of was, man, this guy's like a prettier version of Jai Courtney. It's just, I don't have Point Break listed because I didn't finish the movie. I watched until he got on the boat with them. He went to some surfing event and like rode the same wave as the guy, and like apparently it was dangerous, and then Bodhi took him on the boat with him, and then he hung out for a while, and I was just like, this is just, I don't care. I've never not cared so much. but yeah, like it was so right along the action version. That's basically all it was. So plain and just Luke says Scorsese, Spielberg, and Tarantino are all rushing to use him, I heard. Yeah. Yeah. What do you have next on your list, Bryan?
Next up is Bastille Day.
I have not seen that. Haven't heard of that.
It's just been released over here. I don't think you've got it yet, but it's got Idris Elba in it.
Maybe I have heard of it. I think
it's just another generic action film. You know what it feels like? It feels like one of the many never-ending stream of Luc Besson produced action movies. I don't think he actually had anything to do with this one, but I feel like the company that has made it has clearly thought, well, they do all right. Let's make one of them. And that's literally what it feels like. You could have stuck Liam Neeson in this, and it would have just felt like one of those kind of films. You know, I've heard some people say that this is Idris Elba's bid for Bond, but based on the strength of this, it ain't happening. No one would want it to.
His other stuff should be good enough by standards anyway. Why does he have to make anything right now that would help his bid for Bond?
I don't know. To be honest, like for me, he's not Bond. He's not Bond material. He might be a good Bond villain. I'd accept him as a Bond villain, but not as Bond. And it's got nothing to do with him being black. It's just his accent. Is so thick. It just sounds London. No matter what he does, to me, he sounds London.
He wasn't very accent heavy in Prometheus.
It crept through.
He was indescriptibly a human, not really. I didn't tell where he was from.
Well, in the Jungle Book, you had Shere Khan just sounding like a Cockney tiger. And that's, you know, performance-wise, like the intonation of his voice, he handles well. You know, he's a good performer. He's a good actor. He's a very good actor. But it's just, I don't know. I can't really hear Bond with that accent. It just doesn't sound right to me. I don't know.
And
I know a lot of people are calling for him to be Bond, so maybe I'm wrong. I don't
know. Yeah, sure. I mean, whatever. I understand both sides. You know, I just make sure the Bond movies are all right. Like that's what bothers me more than anything. I don't care who it is saying the stuff, shooting the people. You know, just make sure it's good. Like, it could be a guy, it could be a girl, it could be a black person from Mars. Just make it good. Like, I don't care who it is. It could be the first Jane Bond. I don't care. Just make it good. We have a lot of it's funny. Both of our lists, apparently or evidently to both of us, if your movie is boring, it's more offensive than bad. And you know, it's unique or nice to know that.
The thing with a bad movie, like if it's really bad, you can get some kind of twisted enjoyment from it. You can laugh at it, but if it's boring, then it just doesn't do anything for you. You don't even get entertainment from it because you're just switched off. You're so disconnected from it that it doesn't engage you on any level. A bad movie still engages you because you're engaging with what's bad about it.
Yeah, I was fooled into thinking I really liked Jupiter Ascending last year, but it was just that, you know, there was a lot going on to it, and I just wanted to like it so much, and I think that's what drove me through it. You know, it's just cluttered, but you know, again, I'd rather watch Jupiter Ascending 4 times over than some of these things we've mentioned, because I would enjoy popping Jupiter Ascending in over Ride Along too.
Oh yeah, I'd watch it again instead of Ride Along 2. The thing is, Jupiter Ascending, you know, at least they're trying, man. At least they're trying to do something different. You know, it fails spectacularly, but, you know, well done for trying. Well done for trying something original.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
it's stuffed. It's so stuffed. That movie.
Yeah. But if you'd have just toned down what's his face's performance,
Redmayne,
tone down Redmayne, and in fact just completely recast Redmayne in that role. Get someone else, and just don't be so over the top with it. That film would have got 2 extra stars from me.
I don't think that's the problem. I think the fact that he's like here, and then there's like it takes no time for him to get here. It's just like, whoa, you're talking calmly, now you're screaming. Like, what?
To me, that was one of them films that felt like somewhere there's a 3-hour cut.
I've said it, like, I wish, because it actually feels like it should have been a trilogy, that movie.
Yeah.
And if it were just, you know, one movie where you focus maybe on one sibling, and then this sequel you focus on the next sibling, and then, you know, finally there's something there. I think that's what bothers me about that movie, is it feels like it should be better. It feels like it could be really good too. But that's a 15 movie. What do you have next on your list, Brian?
I've got... This is a film that it wasn't released in cinemas, but it is a 2016 release. It's a new release. It went straight to Now TV over here. It's called Lost and Found. It's not I wouldn't say it was a bad film. We're getting into films that are touching, well, the good now. So Bastille Day was the last film on my list that was, you know, below a good grade. So Lost and Found is my first kind of 6 out of 10. It's a low 6 out of 10, but it was still, for what it was all right. It was just, it's kind of like a Hardy Boys adventure type story with 2 brothers that are on an island, and Jason Patrick plays their uncle, and it was just bit of a kind of treasure hunt type story. You know, nothing fantastic, but it was quite nicely character driven for what it was. I'd give it a 6 out of 10. It's pretty good.
Lost and Found. What's next?
This is again not a cinema release, but a straight to Netflix film. This is Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, A Sword of Destiny, which basically would have been vastly improved if they just got rid of the English speaking and made it Mandarin with subtitles. I think when you take a lot of what they get away with in these Chinese films, these Asian films, and you make the dialogue English, a lot of the stuff that sounds poetic in Mandarin sounds hokey as crap in the English language, and it suffers as a result. But yeah, I like the original Crouching Tiger is one of my favorite films, so I wasn't overly excited by this. I thought the idea of doing a sequel, particularly this late, was a bit stupid. Although apparently that's how it is in the books. The Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon is based on a series of 5 books, which I didn't know. But the one that this is based on apparently does take place much later than the original one. So it kind of works, kind of doesn't. It just doesn't have the class that the original has. So.
Obviously I haven't seen that. I do have Netflix though, so I'll do enough. What do we have next, Brian?
We got this is I don't know if it. I think you may have had it on. Oh, mind you, it does say 2016 release actually. So even in America, it's a film called Exposed, and it's got Keanu Reeves in it, and Ana de Armas, who was also in Knock Knock, who I think is a really fantastic actress. I think she's going to go places. I think people could judge her quite harshly, but that's more because of the film she's been in, not necessarily because of her performance. I think so far she's been in 2 films that, well, they've ranged from mediocre to all right.
She's the blonde in Knock Knock?
She's the blonde in Knock Knock. And despite how bad that film is, I still think she was very good in it. And she's very good in Exposed, very good in Exposed, actually. But it's a film that was hacked to death by the studio, and basically the director took his name off it. So the name of the director that you'll find on IMDb isn't the actual real director's name. That's because the studio wanted to turn it into a Keanu Reeves vehicle, even though it wasn't really a film about his character. It was more about her character. So, they trimmed a lot of it down, and as a result, it does feel a bit choppy. But there is a good film in there somewhere, and there's definitely a cracking performance by her. If you just want to check her out as an actress, it's worth checking out, because I do think she's fantastic. She's just been cast, actually, in Blade Runner 2, the second Blade Runner film. So,
yeah, for the record, you watched Knock Knock with the wrong tone. That's all I'm saying. That movie, if you watch it with the tongue firmly in cheek, that's an all right movie.
I'll say this: it is my favorite Eli Roth film.
Yeah. I mean, all of his movies are really like, you kind of have to roll your eyes as you watch it. Like, all right, come on.
I gave it a 6 out of 10. Knock Knock. I gave it a 6 out of 10.
Well, your high standards. He should be doing jumping jacks right now.
I just that bit at the end when Keanu Reeves is proper shit, just like shouting
when his head's sticking in the ground or whatever. Yeah, it was free pizza. Blu-ray Order came in. What's up, Blu-ray Order? His list is Lobster, 10 Cloverfield Lane, which I forgot to list on mine too. Deadpool, Hush, The Boss, and that's it. We don't all, most of us, watch at home. But yeah, that's a decent list. I agree with. I've never seen Lobster, so.
Yeah, I want to see Lobster. Actually, it looks a little bit out there, but.
And yeah, Cloverfield Lane is awesome. Same with me. I don't have much time to go to the cinema. And with those Blu-ray releases, I can't wait till they drop in. I mean, the quality of stuff at home is just as, and in some cases, better than some theatrical experiences. So the price is close enough too. So for $30, you can get dinner and a movie, and you could pause it, and you could watch the movie again.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I am waiting for the day that, and they have toyed with the idea, but I'm waiting for the day when they stream movies to your home on the same day of release at the cinema. I'll be quite honest. I much prefer watching a film in the comfort of my own home than I do at the cinema. It's only for the fact that they are new releases that I want to see them at the cinema. But there are so many people who just annoy the hell out of me when I'm sat in a cinema. Man, just so many experiences I've had where people just ruined the film for me because of their twitchy feet or their stupid inability to switch off their phone when they're watching the film. It's just man. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So, what do you have next on your list, Brian?
We've got Criminal.
The Denzel movie. Oh, same thing. It's white Denzel. Sorry. Yeah, I have Denzel and Kevin Costner as the same person in my head. That just came out, didn't it?
Because they're so similar.
They seem to be making the same sort of choices, same bland sort of similar as the last one type choice.
It's more upsetting with Denzel Washington though, just because of how good he can actually be.
Yeah, I guess you could say the same thing with Kevin Costner, just 10 years earlier than you can for Denzel.
Yeah.
So, good, bad. I mean, we're into the. You said yourself, we're into the.
Again, it fits that mold of the Luc Besson kind of produced stuff that, you know, slightly high concept, kind of low development. Just, I think it's worth seeing for Gal Gadot, I'd say, because I think she's pretty good in it. She doesn't have a big role, but she does get to perform. I'll say that. And I am actually really starting to like her as an actress. I think she's taken a lot of flack over the past couple of years, and I think she's now finally getting the chance to prove herself, because her film roles are starting to come out now, and it's her chance to kind of shut people up, I think. And
Well,
to some extent, she's doing
with Wonder Woman, she's going to really open some doors.
Yeah.
You're up to good. Let me catch up to you here. My list, I have on the bottom right along to The Boss is coming up behind it. The next worst movie I have on my list is a film made by, not released technically wide at all. It's made by the folks at Red Letter Media. It's a film called Space Cop. I'm a big fan of them. I need to say that outright. But I'm not a fan of Rich Evans and his annoying characteristics. And he does the, oh my God, man. Just too much Rich Evans. But like I said, I really am I wanted to love this movie, whatever. And I just couldn't get into it. It was like purposely low budget in some spots, and then some spots they did CGI, and it's one of those ones that's like purposely bad, but like you compare it to stuff like Turbo Kid and Kung Fury, and it's just like, of those three, Space Cop is the least appealing. But like I said, if you're fans of certain characteristics of Red Letter Media, you might want to check it out. But I grew tired of some of it really quickly. And the next one I have ranked, Dirty Grandpa. Oh, Mr. De Niro, how much money do you need that you keep making these movies?
What has happened?
I don't know. Like, he keeps taking these roles, and it's like, are you bored? Are you poor?
He's like, been doing okay recently when he's been working with David O. Russell.
Okay, so that's once a year.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's just like literally once a year he pulls in a good performance when he's working with David O. Russell.
Yeah, but otherwise he's senior Nick Cage. It's too much. Stop, De Niro, stop. And that about my next one after that is a New Zealand release that came out straight to Blu-ray here. That was Deathgasm, which I actually I enjoyed that quite a bit. About was it a kid who's into heavy metal, and there's satanic something. It's been a while. It's quite funny.
Right up my street then, yeah.
Yeah, you'd love it, Brian. Totally for you. So what do you have next, Brian? Sorry.
I've got London Has Fallen.
Oh, I meant to see that and didn't.
If you like the first one, you'll like this, just not as much.
All right.
Yeah. I loved the first one. It was like a proper Die Hard film without John McClane. This one is also like a proper Die Hard film with John McClane, but it's more like one of the Die Hard sequels. It's just, does what you want it to do. Gerard Butler goes round, kills a load of people, hits them really hard, and things blow up. It does have one scene actually in it that's it's one of them one take scenes. It's an action scene. It's a shootout in a street, and it's all done as one take, which I thought was pretty classy for this kind of film. You don't normally expect that in this kind of film, which is like your generic action film. So it does have some nice surprises in there from a directing standpoint. But yeah, I could understand why people would hate it. But I loved it. It gave me what I wanted.
Okie dokie. Next.
Huntsman, Winter's War, which I thought was I thought it was a good film. Actually, I actually enjoyed it a lot more than I was expecting to. I must confess I did like the original quite a bit more than most people.
Oh, I mean, I was kind of about the original, but
yeah. But I think could do without Chris Hemsworth and Jessica Chastain trying to pull off Scottish accents. Two actors I really, really like, but they can't do Scottish accents. They just shouldn't try. But yeah, for the most part, it was actually quite good. I enjoyed it.
Okay, next I have The Program.
Not seen that one.
Which didn't get very big a release at all here. I think it's actually on VOD now.
Right.
It's about the fall of
yes,
bicyclists. Why slipped my mind?
Yeah, the drug testing.
Yeah,
thing.
What's his name? Oh my god. Oh my god, he won 7 Tour de France. Lance Armstrong.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's not so. I mean, they do cover it. They cover his rise, and they don't really cover his cancer too much neither. It's more about him, going to these great lengths to stay on top, and the things that he did to pass these drug tests, and it's really funny to see how prevalent, I guess, it is in the competitive biking sport. I don't know how else to call it, but it was an interesting movie. I mean, I didn't see it in a theater. I saw it on demand, so it feels right in that area. I wouldn't imagine paying too much. Seeing it in a movie theater maybe has too much expectation behind it. But if you're sitting at home just watching it, bored Friday, it's an all right movie.
Yeah. Was it Ben Foster in that, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, the trailer looked good, I thought.
Yeah, listen, it's nothing epic, but I don't think it's anything horrible neither. If you're expecting something great. Yeah, Ben Foster has had a couple of decent roles in the past. He was actually in Lone Survivor too.
Yeah.
One of the other people. What do you have next?
I've still got 21 films to go on my list.
So go ahead, go on a run there. Go ahead. You don't have to explain about all of them.
Okay, Kung Fu Panda 3, which didn't really do anything new. At times it did bore me, but I appreciated it. I thought, the animation was better than the first two because they always improve with these things.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it kind of feels like they're treading old ground now. So I'd be happy if they left it at 3 and called it a day. Still a good film, but just leave it there. Call it quits. Next is Hail Caesar, which I gave a 7. Yeah, I gave a 7 out of 10. It's a good Coen Brothers film, but it's not a great Coen Brothers film.
I actually have that next on my list too. So
it's a little bit all over the place, and I think Coen Brothers tend to make 2 types of films. They make their serious stuff, which still has humor in it, or they make their kind of screwball, wacky comedies. So
Mhm.
films like The Lady Killers, Intolerable Cruelty, Hail Caesar, and they tend to be the films of theirs that I enjoy least. Burn After Reading.
Yeah, yeah, that's a
So
fair point.
yeah, it's like, yeah, I prefer Country for Old Men, Fargo type of Coen Brothers.
Blood Simple.
Blood Simple.
Mhm.
It's, if they're doing screwball comedy, I've got to say one of my favorite films of theirs, and not just for screwball comedy, but just period. One of my favorite Coen Brothers films is Raising Arizona, but none of their kind of screwball stuff even comes close to that. Any of the stuff they've done afterwards.
Have you seen Hudsucker Proxy?
Yeah, yeah.
How does that compare?
I, 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 I'll confess, I've seen it 3 times, and the first 2 times I watched it, I fell asleep halfway through.
Okay, so
Now,
that good.
that could be entirely down to the moods I was in both times I watched that.
Uh-huh.
Not a bad film. It's got some interesting stuff in there. It's got some funny stuff in there, but it's not a very tight film, I don't think. I think they could have shaved a good 15 minutes off and just tightened it up a bit. But
Onto your list. Back to 2016. Sorry.
Pride and Prejudice and Zombies is at number 19.
Okay.
I'm a fan of the BBC version of Pride and Prejudice with Colin Firth. My wife introduced me to that, and I really enjoyed it. And what I was really amazed at by Pride and Prejudice and Zombies is just how close the film actually is to the source material. And I don't mean the comic book, I mean the actual Jane Austen novel. So yeah, props to it for that. How do you take something, make it almost identical, yet insert zombies into the mix, and make it work? But they do for the most part.
That's the genre I'm waiting for to finally just kind of die off. I mean, all right, where else can we put zombies? I mean, when Brad Pitt's doing a zombie movie, that's things have kind of got saturated.
I like World War Z.
I do too, but it's just all right. We got it.
Yeah. Enough's enough already.
Mm-hmm.
Give it a break and then have a resurgence in about 10 years' time.
Sure.
My number 18 is Standoff, which
Never heard of it.
Again didn't go to cinema over here. It went straight to Now TV. It's got Lawrence Fishburne, Thomas Jane, and there's a young actress in it. She's about 11 years old, something like that. It's the first thing I've seen her in, but she was fantastic in it. She really held the screen with Thomas Jane. So I've just reviewed that recently because I've only just seen it recently. But it's one of them films that's it's mostly set in one location, and those kind of films interest me. I like to see how can you keep the tension going? How can you keep the momentum going when you confine yourself to one location? So films like Buried and things like that. It interests me from a filmmaking level, and I think they do a really good job in Standoff. So yeah.
Next.
A film that I think is really underseen and underrated as well. The Finest Hours, which I really enjoyed.
Oh, okay.
I thought it had some lovely production value on it. The cinematography was beautiful. The production design was beautiful. And I really liked Katie Affleck's character in it. I really liked Chris Pine's character as well and his performance. Just really solid stuff all around, I thought. It's not the best film in the world, but I think it deserved a heck of a lot more attention than it got. And I think the publicity for it was terrible.
Oh yeah, it got little to no anything over here too.
Yeah.
What else you got? 16.
Number 16 is 10 Cloverfield Lane.
Whoa. Okay.
This is the first film on my list that I've given an 8 out of 10, and yeah. So we're into the 8 out of 10 realm now. So yeah, again, like Standoff, another film where for the most part you're in one location. How do you keep the momentum going? How do you keep the tension going? And this film does it really, really well.
Yeah, there's a lot of second guessing and stuff in that movie too. It's surprising to hear. I'm really intrigued to hear what the rest of your list is, because 10 Cloverfield Lane, there's some really special stuff going on in that movie. At least as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I mean, like I say, I gave it an 8 out of 10. I really liked it. I don't know, maybe it's a little overhyped, but again, like I say, 8 out of 10 isn't something to be scoffed at.
Sure, but you have 15 movies that that are 8 or better coming up here.
Yeah. The next one on my list might surprise a lot of people. Then again, it might not. But they might be surprised that I've put it just above 10 Cloverfield Lane. But that's Risen, which is basically the Jesus film.
Okay.
You know, as a Christian and as someone who does want to see decent portrayals of biblical stories, it's not something I can often say that we get. Certainly not since the 50s with the likes of Ben-Hur and that kind of thing. Christian movies these days, let's face it, are absolute crap. You look at things like God's Not Dead, and it makes me embarrassed. It makes me feel like siding with the atheists.
Wait, what about Passion of the Christ? Was, I mean, granted, it's a little brutal, but
yeah, I liked Passion of the Christ quite a lot. But like I say, those films are few and far between, and that's a film that's done by someone who isn't afraid to compromise, and who isn't. When Mel Gibson made that, and it's a film that's an experience. It's essentially the torture and the execution of Jesus Christ, and so it's literally something you go through. You feel like you're going through it with him, because you're just seeing all this brutality on screen, and that's what Mel Gibson was tapping into. That's what he wanted to tap into. So he understands filmmaking from that level, whereas a lot of these Christian films are made by people who don't understand that process, don't understand the art of storytelling. So instead we get propaganda crap like God's Not Dead, which, as I say, is a really good tool for creating more atheists. It's just, yeah, I've got no qualms with people just saying how bad those films are, because they're terrible. But so yeah, Risen was a film that, for me, as a Christian, I sat there and I watched it. It made me feel something, and most importantly, whoever it was who made the film understands at least narrative storytelling, like filmmaking as a form of storytelling, not just propaganda, not just like, it had characters in it that were engrossing. So it took this Roman soldier and it put it within the stories that you read in the Bible. So we're getting it through his perspective rather than just retreading old ground. Most people probably won't like it, but for me, it did what I wanted it to do. And I would like more Christian films like that, and less Christian films like God's Not Dead.
Next.
Next, next is Truth, which I think you guys got last year. So we got it well after the fact.
I've never heard of half of these movies. What is going on here?
It's a film with Robert Redford, Kate Blanchett.
Yes. Newscasters, right?
Yeah. It was a bit of a rocky start. It was like it took me a while to warm to the characters, because I think some of the dialogue at the beginning was a bit clunky, and it was like you kind of think, well, put this in the hands of Aaron Sorkin and you've got something gold. But it's not Aaron Sorkin writing it. But that being said, James Vanderbilt, who wrote and directed it, he also wrote Zodiac, so I know he can write a good script. And like I say, once you've been watching the film for a good 20 minutes or so, you start to get invested, I think. And I became invested in the central character played by Kate Blanchett, and I enjoyed it. I became engrossed in the characters and what they went through. And so, yeah, nothing original by any stretch of the imagination, but still a very solid film for that type.
Next.
Next, at number 13 is Creed.
Oh my God, you and your crooked calendar. Okay, I understand.
Yeah,
Actually,
US release, obviously. Yeah. You got it in. I think you got it in December, didn't you, or something? Maybe in November.
Like October, actually, September.
Oh, good grief! See, this is what we have to put up with, because it's like the moment there's the slightest bit of Oscar talk surrounding the film, boom, shift it to January, shift it to February, and it just winds me up. So all these films.
Movies from Miles says 65% of these movies I've never heard of. Yeah, and the other 35% are movies that were out a year and a half ago. I'm like, wait, what? That's not 2016. What are you talking about? I'm sorry, Brian. Go ahead.
Sorry, I've just realised I've not been reading some of these comments. I'm going back and reading some. Kung Fu Hustle. That's it's got a good opening 20 minutes. Very good opening 20 minutes.
See, so I was going to bring something up with you that actually I don't even know if it would make sense now, because I wanted to talk about the opening quarter of 2016, but it's like a completely different thing as far as you're concerned. I wanted to talk about how last year here in America, we had stuff like Predestination, which was kind of, under the radar. Still Alice, Wild Tales, we finally got. It Follows, Spring, Ex Machina. All these like low end movies that were really, really good. And then of course we had stuff like Kingsman, which came out of nowhere. What else do I have on this? This Furious 7 came out around first quarter last year too. But looking at listening to the way your schedule runs out, it's very different.
Bonkers, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah.
All right. So what do you have next?
Number 12 is The Jungle Book.
Okay. Actually, I have that next on my list as well.
So I was surprised by it, because the original animated Jungle Book, it's one of them films that it don't really grip me. It's like I've never been over enthusiastic about it. The songs don't really grab me in a way that some Disney films do. It's just, yeah.
Yeah. I'm not a big fan of the cartoon, the musical aspect. I would say that wouldn't you agree that if somebody were a fan of the musical, like the songs, they would kind of be disappointed in this movie?
Maybe, but not necessarily, because I think the thing that this film gets right is just the atmosphere and the innocence of the main character and just the temperament of Baloo. I think is really good. I really love Bill Murray as Baloo in this. I'll say one thing that surprised me is that when I saw the trailers, the voices didn't work for me in the trailer. I was a bit skeptical about it. But within the context of the film, and once you start to get to know these characters, the voices started to work a lot more for me. Like Bill Murray really worked for me as Baloo, whereas he didn't in the trailer when I heard him.
Scarlett Johansson felt disjointed for me altogether.
Really?
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Bill Murray I thought was perfect.
Yeah. I liked Christopher Walken as well.
Yes. Yeah, Scarlett Johansson was the only one where I was just like, it doesn't really match.
For me, it was like I say, Idris Elba. The accent was it wasn't Shere Khan to me. Like vocally speaking,
right.
From the original film, Shere Khan, I think, is probably the most iconic voice from that original film. So yeah, I think I'd have liked them to have got a little bit closer, I think, to the original with regards to Shere Khan, just because of how iconic that voice is.
Well, what I meant was, I mean, like if you, I think like stuff like Aladdin, Prince, like there's a lot of like songs that you just remember. I feel like if you're a big fan of the songs from the original, like there's some that are there, but it's not, they're not there. They don't return. It's like only like for reference sake. So I don't know if you grew up with this movie, the cartoon, and like singing along with it, you're not going to have that, sing along type aspect here.
Yeah.
I don't know what I meant, but there's an aspect, there's a new dynamic, I guess basically is what I want to say.
No, I get it. I think to some extent you're probably right. But I mean, like you say, I don't like the original, whereas I really liked this one. So
same
maybe
here.
the people who really like the original won't like this one as
well. Right, and that's what I meant, because I understand musicals exist; they're a thing. People love them, but for me, like it's so hard for me to be like, all right, you're walking down the street and you're doing something, and now you're all singing and dancing. Why is that a thing now? And then they stop singing and dancing, and then more progressing in the story. That never makes sense to me. It's just a pet peeve of mine that we're hungry. Now we're gonna sing about it for 2 minutes, and now we're gonna go try to find more food. Oh, okay, well, sure. More power to you. What do you have next, Brian?
The Man Who Knew Infinity.
Don't know that, or I don't recognize the title.
It's I don't know if you've. It says the year's 2015, but it's got Dev Patel, Jeremy Irons. It's about this Indian mathematician who is a bit of a prodigy. He's a bit like Good Will Hunting of his day, and he comes over to England and helps this British professor, mathematics professor, do all these complicated sums and stuff. And it's just about their relationship and whatnot. And it's basically a more kind of, I don't know, snobbish version of Good Will Hunting, I guess, but but with race issues as well. And it's set during the Second World War, so it's some political stuff in there. It's there's a lot of discussions about faith and versus science and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it was a good film. I wasn't expecting a lot from it, but it surprised me. And Jeremy Irons is really fantastic in it.
Sure. What else you got?
Eddie the Eagle.
Oh, I wanted to see that so bad.
When I watched the trailer for the film, the trailer put a smile on my face.
Yeah.
And the film was like that all the way through. So if you found the trailer endearing, then you're going to love the film. And I love Hugh Jackman. I think he's a fantastic actor. I think he's able to balance different aspects of his character quite nicely. So yeah, just a really good feel-good film. The very definition of feel-good film.
Don't look into the true story if you want to watch the movie. Just watch the movie. I haven't seen it, and I did the stupid thing of looking into the true story and maybe.
Yeah, well, like I knew the true story because like I grew up with it.
Right.
Obviously, with it being a British dude. But yeah, so if you don't know the story, I'd take CP's advice. Just go into it fresh and watch it as it is, because it in some ways it'll defy your expectations as a result, I think.
All right, what do you have next?
Midnight Special at number 9.
One that I keep meaning to check out and haven't yet.
Yeah. A few people have been pretty down on it, saying it's not as good as the guy's previous work. But for me, I connected with it. I think people were expecting more twists and turns, and like I think they wanted more from the mystery element.
Right.
Whereas to me, that was the least interesting aspect of the film. The most, for me, the interest lay in the fact that this is a story about how far a father will go for his child, for his son. And that's basically it. You know, it's very simplistic, but that's basically it. And I connected with that on that level, I guess.
Okay. What do you have next?
At number 8, I've got Spotlight.
Okay.
Which I believe you got in 2015, if I'm not mistaken. And at number 7, another film you got in 2015 is The Big Short.
Oh, such a great movie.
Yeah, really good.
That was my number 3 for 15.
The Big Short to me almost feels like an Aaron Sorkin script. Feels very much like something Aaron Sorkin would have written.
Yes. We should probably just talk about that all night. That would have been interesting. Yeah, the subject matter is so. Oh, they do such a really interesting job of getting you. I don't know how much you know about the financial system and all that stuff, but they do a really good job of, kind of holding your hand through some of it, because it's really, it's like Chinese, some of it's just like, wait, what are you saying? What's going on? And they actually take comedic moments to address just how boring, how crazy, how, stupid some of it sounds. And they break the fourth wall, and they have these really funny scenes in the movie that just kind of play to that. And I think it's just a really, really interesting movie when you consider what the movie's about. It's just surprising.
Yeah, definitely. It's like, because like even those scenes though, like even when they try and simplify it for you, at times I still don't get their simplification of it.
Yeah.
But that's in many ways that's the point, because they even call that out, and it's almost like it's like I wouldn't want to put anyone off this film by saying you're not going to understand a word they're talking about. Well, you're probably not going to understand the word they're talking about.
Right.
But it doesn't matter. What matters is that you understand at a base level where each character sits in their moral outlook on life.
Yeah.
So we know the bankers are screwing us over. We don't know how they're doing it. We just know they're doing it, and these characters know they're doing it, and we gain, a perspective. We know what perspective they have. We don't know how they have it, the intricacies of it. We just know they have it, and for me, that's enough. And I really loved Steve Carell's character in it. I thought he was the heart of the film. I think Christian Bale got all the accolades for it, the nominations, but and I thought it was a great performance. Everyone in the film gives a great performance, but for me, it was Steve Carell that really.
Yeah, I agree. If there's something to really talk about, I would have said Steve Carell as well. Movies from Miles says he hated Big Short. He doesn't know why. Gosling was the best thing about it. I felt Gosling was pretty funny as well. But like Brian said, Steve Carell was really, 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 funny, but dramatic. Like what he just, it's hard to explain. It was just he was doing something special there. But yeah, it's definitely worth checking out. What do you have next on your list, Brian? Dark Knight. Did you get that last week? Is that on your list? The film called Ben-Hur. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
My number 6 is Deadpool, which I gave a 9 out of 10.
Wow, you got some big hitters then.
Yeah. Okay, this is my first 9 out of 10 of the year.
Anything stick out to you about this?
Just how fast it was. It was just like joke after joke after joke after joke, but they worked, and it's like the jokes came thick and fast, and they were actually funny.
Razor sharp too.
Yeah, and the film just literally whizzed on by. It felt like a 90-minute movie. It was actually like an hour and 40 odd minutes, but it felt like a 90-minute movie.
There's like two major moments. It's the first scene, and then the end. It's everything else in between is really quick. It just kind of gets going.
Yeah, it's just like really nicely shot, really good action sequences, and on a fraction of the budget that most of these big comic book movies are made for.
Right.
Just really inventive with its visuals. Just that opening credit sequence alone, just really inventive. Really, just enjoyed it. And I'm not one for crude humor, but when it's this funny, it just worked. They knew what they were doing.
Mm-hmm.
I've got a bit of a soft spot for Gina Carano as well, even though she doesn't say a right lot in this film. I still like her.
Is that the girlfriend?
That's the hard woman. I do like the woman actually who plays his girlfriend. She was good in like Firefly, and she's in Gotham as well. But no, she's the MMA fighter who they always pull in.
Right. Okay, the one who loses her top, and Colossus is all
yeah.
You have to adjust your top.
Yeah.
Okay.
Next up, number 5 is Zootropolis, which I gave a 9 out of 10.
You called it something weird. It's called Zootopia.
No, I knew I was going to get called out on that.
Zootropolis. What is that? That's not the word. No, I think everywhere else it's that, right? I think you guys have it as Zootropolis and we have Zootopia.
Yeah. I mean, like we literally had a load of publicity come out where it said Zootopia, and then about a week later it was suddenly called Zootropolis. So I'm like, what is going on? But just a really good film, a really good animated, like character driven film that dealt with race issues and bullying issues and
Yeah.
segregation, and just did it in a way that was presentable to children and families in general.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, I feel like, I mean, it's good. I have it high on my list as well. I have it top 4, even though I didn't realize I watched it. But I felt like it was just too simple. And it's strange for me to say that, because for a kids movie, it'll work as a kids movie. You won't realize that it'll be about, race issues and things like that. But I feel like there's other ways to go, like something like Wall-E is such a really, really good movie, and it's still got that message that's not like in your face.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
This feels very much like a message movie, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it feels like paint by numbers too. So it feels like, it's just, all right, we have to do this. Like it feels maybe safe. I think you mentioned it before, the word safe. It feels like a safe, perfect, by the numbers type message movie. But it's done well. There's nothing really bad about it. It's just safe. No real venturing out to the ledge with this movie, I guess. It's not that it bothers me. It just, I wish they tried something extra.
Yeah. I mean, I've put this film on my list above, above Deadpool, above The Big Short, above Midnight Special, above plenty of other films that I know I will actually watch more than Zootropolis, whatever the hell you want to call it.
New movie.
Yeah, it's like if I sit down and I watch Zootropolis, and I'm looking at the filmmaking techniques, the just everything that goes into making a movie, then I give it a 9 out of 10. That's what I judge it on. But I can watch The Transporter quite happily 10 times because I was up in it.
Right, exactly.
There's a difference between the better movie and my favorite movie. So like this list right now is what I deem to be. Well, it's a bit of a mix of both, really. It's mostly based on my score, but it's just, yeah, I know there's films beneath this on this list that I will watch more.
Oh yeah.
But I just appreciate what was done with it. I sat there and I watched it and I was touched by it. Which is always the first port of call for me for grading a film. How does it affect me inside? And yeah, it did a really good job of doing that.
Are you a bunny that wants to work at the police force, Bryan?
I'm a bunny that wants to work at the police force.
Luke from Razor Wire says, I only found the song Try Anything a bit much. Hit it on the nose too much. Yeah. What else do you have next, Bryan?
Number 4, which you guys got before us, is The Revenant.
That's my number 1.
Just finally glad that Leonardo DiCaprio got his Oscar. Well deserved for it, I think. It's a very physical performance. Put himself through hell for it. So, give the man a prize.
Yeah, it's
beautifully shot.
Oh yeah.
Cinematography is just stunning on it.
It's strange, after everything kind of settles, Revenant wins Best Actor, Best Director, Best Cinematography, but not Best Picture.
Yeah.
All right.
Bizarre. I just, man,
It looks the best. It was guided the best and performed the best.
Yeah. It makes no sense to me at all. How can a film have the best direction, the best performances, the best cinematography, and it doesn't pick up Best Picture?
Right.
thing that makes it the best is the culmination of all these different things. So why is Mad Max Fury Road or The Revenant not picking up Best Picture?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, personally, I thought Mad Max Fury Road was a little bit overrated, but
no, I agree.
Yeah, Spotlight was a good, solid film, but it's something I've seen before.
Yes, yes.
You know, it's All the President's Men. It's Shattered Glass. It's Truth. It's a dozen other films about journalists seeking the truth, you know, and brilliant performances, great, really good script. And I liked Tom McCarthy long before people, you know, banged on about Spotlight. I love The Station Agent. I love The Visitor. I love Win Win. I've still not seen The Cobbler, but by all accounts, it's not very good. But I don't think Spotlight is his strongest film. And I don't think it deserved to win Best Picture.
Yeah, I've watched it twice. I went out, like, I saw it once and like didn't really get into it, and then it won, and then I went out. I brought a bunch of old movies back, and it was weird. I had extra store credit. Like, it was one of the things where I went to visit another YouTuber in Pennsylvania, and they're like, "Well, you could just hold on to the store credit." And I was like, "Actually, I can't. I'm going back home to New York. I gotta just get rid of all this store credit." And I was like, "Fuck it. Let me just buy Spotlight and watch it again." And it was just such a weird thing that like, the only reason I watched it again was because like I was forced into using store credit for it. And you know, I watched it twice and was able to watch it twice, which is a lot to say for that movie. But like, I really want to get to know like what it is about these movies, these movies that win that really, like, I don't know, why does rewatchability never count for a film as far as Best Picture is concerned? Like when we watched American Beauty a while back, we did a commentary on your channel.
Yeah,
That's a movie that's a great movie that really feels good when you watch it again. Something like Wizard of Oz really feels good when you watch it again. Granted, there are some that maybe are brilliant, Best Picture worthy movies that you don't watch as much, but they have some sort of rewatchability to them. Something like Jaws, or like E.T., stuff like that, Titanic. Why? I mean, I don't even know how you would consider it, but like, why does that never? Because Revenant has rewatchability. I mean, Mad Max has rewatchability.
It's like Luke says in the chat. It's because Spotlight was an important film, so it wins automatically. And it's just like, it's how you define important, isn't it? I mean, if you look at The Revenant, what that film says about the human spirit, about the drive to stay alive, to fight, to keep going, it's just as important as something like Spotlight that deals in an obvious way with an issue that obviously needs dealing with.
Right.
It really is all about perspective. So like you say, if you've got a film that is rewatchable time and time again, then obviously it's tapping into something within us that we deal with. So surely that deserves more recognition. But it just doesn't work that way, does it? Did they go for the obvious thing? It's like,
yeah, I'm sorry. I'm reading some of these comments here.
yeah.
Which do you think is better, The Big Short or Spotlight? Movies from Miles said Spotlight. I would say Big Short. Dylan,
I think I did a sorry to go all Lee from Drum Dums and promote myself, but I did
oh, you're doing it now. Okay.
I did a video on I ranked all of the Best Picture nominees when the nominations were announced, and I think
Bless you.
I think I may have put Spotlight just above Big Short.
Okay.
But since making that list, no way. Big Short easily would go above Spotlight. I mean, I could be wrong. That may be how I ranked him when I did the video, but definitely now I would put Big Short above Spotlight.
Mm-hmm. Rewatchability. Foxcatcher has good acting, but it's one of those movies that you can't watch over and over again. I agree. Foxcatcher is actually quite slow.
Foxcatcher is a really powerful film.
Yes.
I came out of that, and it's one of them films I was just thinking about for days. But yeah, I'm probably not going to be in any rush to go back and watch it. Yeah, it's still, it's still a film that, even if I'm not going to go back and revisit it, I can still think about it. I can still remember the reaction it provoked out of me. I still remember the way in which Bennett Miller directed it, the way the first half hour barely has a hint of music in it. The way, so the way that just the performances kind of built up the tension. It's an expertly directed film, a brilliantly crafted film on every level, fantastic performances. But just because of the tone, just because of how dour it is, you're not going to go and revisit it. But
yeah, it's sitting here. I want to watch it, but I want to watch it. It's just I can't watch it for some reason.
But I would say that Foxcatcher is a better film than Spotlight, personally.
I would agree with that. You only need to take a look at the release ballots from the Oscar voters for animated film to see where there's a bit of a problem. There for kids, I pick Frozen.
Yeah.
The fact you're only encouraged and not obliged to watch all the nominees is maddening to me. Yeah, I agree.
You shouldn't be allowed to vote in a category if you haven't seen all the films in that category.
Right. That's insanity. That's absolute insanity. Foxcatcher is great. I can't imagine watching it anytime in the next 10 years at least. Yeah. It's one of those ones where it's like, I kind of wish I was with someone that wanted to see it this way. I'd be like, all right, finally, I have a reason. Let's watch it.
but like I say, it is a film that is powerful enough to have made an impression that sticks with you. Whereas Spotlight is like, it was a good film, but that's it. It's gone now, and it's like, I've seen a ton of films like it before, and I'll see a ton of films like it again. I haven't seen a ton of films like Foxcatcher because it doesn't play out in a kind of generic, formulaic way that a lot of films do. It's like I say, it's brilliantly scripted, it's brilliantly directed. It's the tone that makes me not want to go back to it, not because it isn't a great film. Some films are just like that.
Well, I mean, have you ever had somebody over and like you guys are trying to figure out a movie to watch, and whether or not you realize that you're trying to influence their decision? I feel like something, if I had a choice between Foxcatcher and Spotlight, you would kind of try to brush Spotlight under the rug a bit.
Yeah, people would look at it and they go, "Oh, won Best Picture," and you'd be like, "Yeah, but Foxcatcher's got this really great kind of direction to it, really fantastic performances." But and you'd be trying to persuade them, wouldn't you, to go with Foxcatcher.
All right, well, tell me about Spotlight then. Oh, it's just a newspaper, and they figure out that the priests are doing this thing, and they just you're just going with them in the story. But Foxcatcher, man.
So, have you seen All the President's Men? Yeah. Well, it's kind of like that. But Foxcatcher's not like anything I've seen before. And So I think the Academy should look further into the animated feature category. There's very good art-based animated films. Sometimes indie films don't have recognition. Yeah, so like you look at films like Anomalisa, which I've still not seen, but it's more than just an animated film. It's it deserves kind of to be mentioned.
What's funny about that movie is it's just a a drama. What makes that film unique in that category is, yeah, it's animated, but it's just a drama. Like, it's not, some magic elf that's looking for, the forest, whatever. It's just a drama about a guy who's in a hotel for a conference. It's like, if you just hear the synopsis, it does not sound like an animated film by any stretch. And then sure enough, there it is.
Yeah.
Him with his little animated ball sack just taking a shower. Sorry, I always have. You're on my channel now, buddy. We're
Hey, but ball sack is something I often shout out. If I get frustrated with some inanimate object, the first thing I always shout is ball sack. So yeah, it's something I'm known for.
All right. Well, what do you have next on your list, Bryan?
Well, we gave my number 1 and my number 2 before, which was Room and Batman v Superman. So my number 3 choice, which I gave a 9 out of 10, film I just saw recently, is Eye in the Sky.
Okay.
Just fantastic film for Alan Rickman to go out on. Just, it's one of them films where it's essentially just people in rooms talking, just kind of arguing the issues out. But you hear someone give their argument, and you're kind of like, yeah, he makes a good point. I think, yeah, they're right. I think I side with them. And then someone else will make a different, like, counter argument, and then you're like, oh, actually, yeah. They are kind of right. They make a valid point there. So you, like, all the way through, you're just like, you're being torn by, the weight of the decisions these people have to make, because they have to decide whether or not to bomb this house, but there are civilians around it, particularly this little girl that's just selling bread just outside this house. So all these people are in rooms. It's like, do we bomb? This guy's got his finger on the trigger. Do we tell him to pull it? And so they're all arguing the case. Some people are for it, others against it. It affects some people's political careers. They've got to think about the legalities, the moral perspective, and it's just like, so the whole film is just like that. There's just this long argument, basically, but it's really tense, and it gets more and more tense throughout the film. So many people say, "Oh, I was on the edge of my seat," and you go into the film, it's like, yeah, it's tense, but it doesn't literally put me on the edge of my seat. Mm-hmm. But at one point during this film, I had hold of my rests, my armrests, and I was like, come on. I was literally like, just itching for someone to make the right decision. And I'm like, I was getting frustrated with some of the characters on screen, but in a good way. The film was riling me up in a good way. It's just really fantastic film, and it's made by Gavin Hood, who most people will know for X-Men Origins Wolverine. So it's nice to see him really prove himself as a competent filmmaker, more than competent filmmaker.
To the folks in the chat, my good buddy Dennis at the Blue Corner has a review of Civil War. It's now up. Blue Corner, the Blue Corner. If you want to know about the Civil War, it's up and out there. So go support him. Check it out if you want to hear it before there's a big flood. He's got his review up already. Sorry. Go ahead. No, is Aaron Paul's best performance? That's what critics say.
Yeah. I'm guessing Dylan's not seen it because he asks and says that's what critics say, but I would agree with that absolutely. I've never been particularly fond of Aaron Paul. I've never had anything against him. He's just, I've heard all the hype about him, and none of the roles I've seen him in have ever kind of made me think that he's warranted that hype until now. I think his performance here, you really do feel just the weight of the responsibility of the burden that is on his shoulders, because he's the trigger man. He's the one at the end of the day. He's given the order. But he's the one who's got to pull the trigger, and his performance really sells you on that. Really sells you the turmoil he's going through in order to make that decision. So yeah, fantastic performance from Aaron Paul.
Okay, so my number one was Revenant. I said that before. Deadpool was my number two. I had Cloverfield Lane. I didn't even realize I had that, and that would have been my number three. But as far as so far, right now we're about a quarter of the way through 2016. How would you compare, like as a lump, what we've done so far this year versus so far last year?
Man, it's really hard to say, because it's hard to remember what we had last year. But if you think about what were the blockbusters we had a Furious 7.
Mm-hmm.
We'd had some Marvel film.
You guys had Avengers Age of Ultron right about now last year.
Yeah, Age of Ultron. Well, if you say that the two big comic book movies for this point of year, you've got Batman v Superman versus Age of Ultron. I think most people will go with Age of Ultron. Personally, I'd go with Batman v Superman, but that's because, you know, I'm more of a DC man. I'm definitely more of a Batman fan. And I liked the film a lot. I also really like Age of Ultron a lot. But for me, if it's a choice between sticking one of them on, I'm going to pick the Batman film. So, what do we have that would compare with, I don't know, Furious 7 or whatever?
We don't really have that. And even the Kingsman too.
Oh yeah. Kingsman was out.
I mean, I guess, you know what, you could take Deadpool and then Kingsman and then take those two and cancel each other out, even though they're not really the same movie. You know, R-rated.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say maybe Deadpool has more in common with Furious 7 when you think about the tone of it. I guess, I don't know. Mind you, no, because Kingsman's a bit like that. It's a tricky one. Yeah, either one of them you could scratch off.
What's funny is 2015. There's a lot of billion-dollar properties from 2015. Minions. You have 6 movies that made $1 billion last year: Minions, Furious 7, Inside Out, Avengers: Age of Ultron, Jurassic World, and obviously the Holy of Holy, Star Wars Episode 7.
Yeah, but that was like much later.
Right. Well, yeah, December.
That was like December. So if you're comparing purely with this, you know, like the January to May, this time last year.
Yeah, of that list of those 6 movies, I don't think a single one of them is in the first quarter. For the horizon, do you think we even get 4 billion-dollar movies this year?
Well, let me just
Have
a look at what's coming up. If I click on 2016, let's see what we've got coming up.
See, I think of the bigger stuff. I think Suicide Squad's probably going to be one of the bigger ones. I mean, we could be, you know, right in the midst. I can't say it. Of, you know, Civil War could be a big movie this year.
I think it will be. I think it only needs to be a good film for it to do really well.
Right.
And it's essentially got, you know, the majority of the Avengers in the cast that was in Age of Ultron, you're only missing Thor and the Hulk. You've pretty much got everyone else. So for all intents and purposes, it is an Avengers film.
Sure.
It's Avengers 3. So I wouldn't be surprised if it breaks $1 billion. I really wouldn't.
That's one.
If it's good, it's going to break $1 billion. Now, Suicide Squad that's got an uphill struggle simply because it's associated with DC now, with Batman v Superman. A lot of people are down on Batman v Superman, obviously. But plus I feel that that's probably it's going to be a higher rating. It might be an R-rated film where you are. So it will have that going against it as well. Yeah, it's a tricky one. I don't think Suicide Squad is going to break $1 billion. I don't think Doctor Strange will either. I don't think Doctor Strange has the kind of appeal that other Marvel films do, just because of the whole magic element. And yeah, it's a bit, yeah.
Well, they have that Harry Potter.
Yeah, Fantastic Beasts and Where
Right.
to Find Them, which I have a little appearance in. But
Do you really?
Yeah.
A speaking appearance or just a...
No. Just it'd be one of them.
Pause it. All right. See
Yeah,
behind
pause
the guy
it.
that you could look at?
Yeah, basically.
Right, over the sign, you could see a head. That's my head.
Yeah. Beyond that, I'm not allowed to say anything about it because.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very well.
Because
yeah. So there's those two. There's that, and then there's Rogue One, where I mean, based on the fact that it has the word star and the word wars in the title.
That's doing $1 billion. That's doing $1 billion.
Even if it's bad, huh? Even if it's just absolute bad.
Yeah. Really? Well, if it's terrible, then maybe not, because you're not going to have the repeat viewing factor. But the people who are steering this ship right now, they know what they're doing. They really do, and I don't think they're just gonna. Yeah, I don't think they're flying blind. Put it that way.
Coincidentally, they're in the same meetings as the Marvel people too. So
yes, yeah. It's just they know what they're doing. Simple as, I mean, as much as I'm a DC guy, and as much as I'd like DC to be better than Marvel, I can't deny that Marvel know what they're doing. They simply do. And you may not like their style all the time because a lot of their universe, their film universe, is very samey. But then all the films exist within the same universe, so why wouldn't they be samey? So if you don't like that style, fair enough. But the fact of the matter is, they know what they're doing and they know who they're doing it for. Now, I happen to think that so far DC know what they're doing and who they're doing it for. It's just that the masses at the moment seem to be more, what they want from the movie is what Marvel are delivering. Whereas I'm happy to have both. I don't see why it has to be an either or. We're talking about other films that are going to break $1 billion. We've got Barbershop, the next cut. No, okay.
That's a $300 million opening weekend right there. That's...
Yeah. I think Jason Bourne is going to do solid business, but I don't think it's going to break $1 billion.
I don't think so either.
So I think it may take about 800.
All right. Well, let me cut you off here for a second. So of the $1 billion property, Minions, Furious 7, Inside Out, Age of Ultron, Jurassic World, Star Wars, maybe one of those you could say is not a true family movie. Furious 7 is more of a teenager movie. Minions is a kids movie. Inside Out is a kids movie. Avengers: Age of Ultron is,
family film.
Jurassic World, believe it or not, is actually technically a family film. And the same could be said for Star Wars. So
Yeah.
five of the six are, you know, family type movies. So I mean, that's another thing to factor in there.
Yeah. Luke points out that obviously Suicide Squad has got Joker and Harley Quinn going for it. So if they get Joker and Harley Quinn right, your DC fanboys are going to repeat view that to hell, basically. It's not got a chance of breaking $1 billion, but
Nice
Dylan
Guys?
mentioned Nice Guys. I really want to see that film.
Mm-hmm.
That's currently in my top 10 most anticipated. I just really want to see that film. I love Shane Black. I loved Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, and this basically looks. It could almost be a sidequel to Kiss Kiss Bang Bang from the look of it.
Right.
But yeah, it does look fantastic. Let's see what else we've got here. It doesn't. You got Warcraft, but I think that's going to bomb.
I agree very much.
I think it's dead on arrival, to be honest.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I think X-Men Apocalypse stands a good chance of breaking $1 billion, just because of the success of Days of Future Past. If they can build on that, if they can make a film that's just as good as Days of Future Past, then
I don't think it's it. I think they're tripping this time.
Maybe we'll see, I guess. But
do we have Star Trek 3 this year?
Yeah, that won't break $1 billion.
No, I wasn't suggesting. I'm trying to figure out, because it seemed like last year was just so full.
Yeah.
And when I think of this year, I'm just like, wait, where are the movies? Where are the like big movies? And they're just
bizarrely. Oh, actually, here's one that does actually stand an outside chance of breaking $1 billion, if it's good.
What's that?
Independence Day Resurgence.
Huh.
I wouldn't underestimate the power of Independence Day.
So,
yeah. If you think back to 1995 when the first Independence Day film came out, that film was massive.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely massive. And I think Roland Emmerich's power, his clout, has somewhat waned over the years. But if there's one franchise that can really get him back, it probably suffers a little bit with the loss of Will Smith. But yeah, I think it could do it. If it's a good film, if the reviews are good and people like it and they latch onto it, I think it stands a chance of earning just enough repeat business to pass it past $1 billion.
I don't know if I said this to either the Blue Corner or Razor Wire, but I said, you know, the one thing that may make Independence Day suffer is, I mean, how many movies have we seen now? And I mean, since the original Independence Day, I remember that shot of the Empire State Building blowing up. Like that was, it was such a big deal. Like all these major monuments getting just blown to smithereens. How many movies have we seen in the last 20 years where the Golden Gate Bridge gets blown up? Oh, the Eiffel Tower gets blown up. Oh, the world crumbles and then there's a big tidal wave. I mean, like, it seems like every year there's this, Earth's in deep shit. So, like, the pure spectacle that was Independence Day, we're seemingly getting that, like, every year, whether it be 2012, San Andreas, London has fallen, Olympus has fallen, help or my mom will shoot. It's like every year there's some sort of Earth's in trouble run. So like the spectacle of just I mean, there's one shot in the trailer or there's one sound bite where they say, all right, it landed in the Atlantic. And the guy says, where? And it goes, the whole thing. like that would be like I guess that's the one way to overcome what I'm talking about is go bigger. Like if they show a spaceship that like just parks itself next to Earth and like
that's the third film. Independence Day 3 is literally just going to be a planet-sized
yeah.
mothership. It's all you can do, isn't it? Is just go bigger each time.
Yeah, it's going to depend on the special effects anyway. So I'm just worried that it just does like what my complaint about the Batman versus Superman fight. It felt a lot like the Superman Zod fight. So if they're going to show aliens blow up, insert American or landmark here, it's going to feel like this year's updated version of Battlefield Earth 2012, whatever. I don't know, but yeah, you're right. It's if they do it right, if it fulfills that potential, it could be something special.
Now, here's a film that does stand an outside chance, and that's based purely on the success of the first film. I didn't rate the first film particularly, and I don't think most people did, but bizarrely, it was staggeringly successful. And that is the new Alice in Wonderland film, Alice Through the Looking Glass. Again, a family film. So, you're going to get a lot of parents taking kids, I think, to it. It's not Tim Burton. We got James Bobbin with this one directing. Now, he did the Muppets film, which was actually really very good. So I think he's got a good understanding of how to pull off family entertainment. So it's a dark horse, is what I'm saying. I wouldn't.
First one made $1 billion.
Hey,
the first one made $1 billion.
Yeah, he did. But like I say, I think maybe a lot of people don't like the first one as much as as they should. But then again, you could say the same thing about Pirates of the Caribbean and Transformers, yet they still keep making $1 billion at the box office. So this could just be one of them franchises. It could be. You've obviously got a built-in fan base because of people who love Lewis Carroll. You've got a family audience because this is a family film, and if it turns out to be good, then you'll have good word of mouth propelling it. So I think it does stand an outside chance of actually breaking $1 billion. It'll be a surprise, but
yeah, just scrape it too. It'd probably just get $1 billion.
Yeah, but it wouldn't be unwarranted.
Do you think The Founder will hit 40 million domestic?
Founder. Which one's The Founder?
Michael Keaton, the story about the guy who founded McDonald's.
Right. 40 million domestically.
How many theaters is it opening in? That's my question.
No.
Is it wide or limited? Because it feels limited. Because wide, it could probably do like, if it's released in the summer, 20's not out of. If it opens to 20, it'll make 40. It's a weird movie to pick with this game.
Just Steve Jobs didn't do well at the box office.
Oh, good point. Good point.
And that had tons of praise.
Mm-hmm.
That had awards caliber filmmakers all over it, awards caliber actors just in it. It was a similar kind of subject, and it pretty much it kind of bombed, really. Much to my dismay, because that was, along with Star Wars, my favorite film of last year.
Yeah.
So no, I don't think it stands a chance in hell, to be honest, of getting 40 million.
Are you saying that because of that latest bit of information we just got there from Dylan?
What's that?
Wide against Suicide Squad? Now that I know that, definitely.
No, now I'm definitely saying it's not going to make that.
Right, exactly.
No, I didn't see that.
The fact that it's wide makes me a little bit jumpy about it, but Suicide Squad, it's going to get buried. It's going to get buried, and then people are just not going to hear about it.
Dead on arrival.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think it'll probably do better in a home video market, but
Yeah, it might even get some sort of second life if it
yeah,
gets nominated for something late in the year. I don't know. It's just strange. It almost feels like well, I mean, going back to the bigger stuff, it almost feels like you have an up year and a down year, an up year and a down year,
mm,
and this appears to be the down year because there's a lot of 17 stuff. I mean, all the comic book stuff, all the bigger stuff with comic book properties is 17. I mean, you have the Star Wars is Episode 8 is in 17. You have
mm.
Wonder Woman in 17, and then there's another DC in 17, isn't there?
Is it? It's not Aquaman, is it?
Maybe.
No, I don't know. Can't remember. Is it Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children? I think stands a chance of doing pretty well.
Really?
Yeah, it's Tim Burton. It's Tim Burton doing a family film. He
Hmm.
tends to do pretty well box office wise when he does family stuff. Like Charlie and the Chocolate Factory did huge business. Alice in Wonderland did huge business. Yeah, when he goes for the family film market, he tends to do pretty decent with it. And it is based upon, I think it's based on a series of books that have been quite successful. So who knows? Again, a bit of a dark horse, but
Justice League, Dylan, is that the other DC property that's coming out in 17? Is that why you said that? I mean, I didn't think it was that, but I mean, that would make sense why I would think 17 is going to be big.
yeah,
Because you have Guardians 2 coming
yeah.
out in 17 as well. I mean, it's so weird. Like when they have this stuff planned out that far in advance, why do they like? I don't know. I guess Civil War. Civil War is probably going to make $1 billion. I mean, it's really there's no way it's not going to be well received. So
I think The Conjuring 2 won't break $1 billion, but it'll do quite well as far as horror films go.
right.
The first one was pretty well received. And it does have the original director back, so.
Mm-hmm. So like, go ahead.
Underworld, Blood Wars. Now there's $1 billion earner right there.
Watch your mouth there, sir. What are your bigger like anticipated movies for this year?
I would like to see BFG actually, and not like I say, Nice Guys. Suicide Squad is my most anticipated from now on, and obviously Star Wars. Civil War as well is one of them. That's obviously coming very very soon. So yeah, that's it really. That's the handful: Suicide Squad, Star Wars, The Nice Guys. Yeah, it's nothing really stands out. I would like to see the new Star Trek film. I think if it can match the tone of what J.J. Abrams did with his, then I think I'll be happy.
We're getting no, that can't be right. Planet of the Apes is 17, isn't it? War of the Planet of the Apes is 17.
Yeah, that's not this year.
Yeah, no. Maybe I'm looking at 17. Blade Runner 2. Yeah, this is. Yeah, see, I don't. It's we have a down year and up year, and 17 like by accident. I'm realizing it's huge. Luke says 2017 Justice League, Guardians 2, Thor 3, Episode 8, and Blade Runner 2. There's a bunch I looked at by accident. 17 is ridiculous because they got that Power Rangers movie. which, who knows? There's another Pirates coming out that year.
Blimey.
Um, Bad Boys 3,
It's going to be a beast.
Spider-Man Homecoming, War of the Planet of the Apes, Alien Covenant.
Yeah. That's going to be a big year.
Yeah, Blade Runner 2, Dr. Seuss's The Grinch. Really? All right. Justice League Part 1, Star Wars Episode 8, The Croods 2. 17 is going to be ridiculous.
I think you're going to see a lot of films get pushed back.
Yeah, it's going to be so cutthroat that the summer is just going to be the Lego Batman movie, John Wick 2. What?
Oh,
There's no room for any of this.
Isn't Lego Batman movie this year?
I have it here as
Lego
May
Batman
of.
movie was this year.
That would have been nice. It would have
No,
helped.
it is. I'm sure. I'm sure it is. I'm sure Lego Batman's this year.
16?
Yeah.
Okay. Avatar 2 in December 2017 currently. Yeah, I don't know. Have they shot a frame of footage for that film yet? They keep talking about, oh, no, we're going to make 7 of them now. Now we're going to make 12 avatars. No. Can you stop talking about it and start making one of them, please? Yeah. So, do you think, as a whole, to kind of wrap it up here, what, I mean, it kind of goes without saying, as far as like for top 10's sake, if it, like just kind of try to predict which will be a better year as far as film is concerned, it's kind of hard to say what you think, based on what you see coming up and how you feel about last year. What would you say about 2016 and the prospects of what's coming up versus 2015?
I think last year is gonna take. I mean, again, like
and let me
you have
don't factor money. Money doesn't mean success. I mean, Transformers
Oh no
makes
no no
money.
no no! I never factor in money. I don't give a toss about that. I mean, purely from my perspective as a film lover, I just again it all depends on release dates as well. It's like like if you look at a lot of the films in my list, if I went off US release dates, which is what most people tend to do, then like 1, 2, 3, 4 films that are currently in my top 10 would no longer be there. It's like, and one of them is the one that's in my number 1 spot. So if I look at my list for 2015, and what did we actually have? So like 2015, oh yeah, I mean like, and again with the release dates, Birdman was in my list for last year. I had Star Wars, Steve Jobs, Birdman, Ex Machina, Sicario, Bridge of Spies. It's just like the thing
15
is,
was really good.
yeah. But if I look at a lot of these, like Sicario, Bridge of Spies, I wasn't even expecting anything from Bridge of Spies. I had no idea I'd like it as much as I did. So Ex Machina, Brooklyn, I hadn't even heard about it until I went to see the damn thing. The Gift, It Follows, Foxcatcher, Joy. These are all films that we didn't really talk about at all until they were released.
Right.
And it was like all of a sudden we're talking about these films. Goodness, have you seen what's it? have you seen that film? It's awesome. You got to check it out. And I've
Well,
no doubt, we'll get similar films as the year goes on, because you do every year.
yeah,
So
yeah.
it is hard to say until you reach the end of the year, because who knows what's coming up that we just don't know about, that is just going to blow us away from out of nowhere, that no one was talking about before it came out.
Right. I'm glad you said that because last year, January, we had Predestination, which, first of all, nobody went and saw. I don't think it had much of a release. That movie still not a lot of people have seen, and it's just building and building and building. Wild Tales is something that, it's not English speaking, but that was my favorite movie of 15. It follows, like you said, spring, really, really low budget, indie. It is what Twilight should be. That movie. If you like the idea of Twilight, go see Spring. It's a better version of what Twilight is. I mean, Ex Machina. That's another one. There's a bunch of these movies, and this is all first quarter that like nobody was really talking about that really kind of surfaced because of word of mouth and stuff like that. So we don't really have that yet for this year. So I'm glad you said that. It's a hell of a point. Yeah, I just agree.
Yeah, no, it's just if you look purely at the slate, if you look at all those films that people in the chat just listed that are coming in 2017, then I'm saying 2017 is going to be a darn good year. So
We're in a down year. We're in the down year. That's all.
Yeah. That's it. Yeah, I don't really have anything else to add now. So,
all right. Well,
stick a fork in me. I'm done.
What do you have coming up on your channel that you like to tell my viewers about?
Oh man, I wish I had a plan for this, because I'd figured out what it is I'm actually going to do on my channel. I'll tell you, I don't know if I should give away a particular thing I want to be doing just yet. That's what CP is actually going to be involved with, and hopefully Lee from Drum Dums, and
The thing that I sent you?
Peter from Bearded Movie Guy.
Is it the thing I sent you?
We are planning something. It's a particular franchise, a particular movie franchise. We're planning on doing something with it across all of our channels. So I'm looking forward to that. When everyone can eventually get up to speed. But yeah, other than that, I do movie commentaries with all of those guys I've just mentioned, CP obviously included. Every Thursday night we do movie commentaries. We take a different film each week, and we just watch it together and we comment on it. And sometimes it gets a little out of hand, and sometimes we actually talk about the movie. But yeah, if you want to join in on that, just come to my channel on Thursdays, and join in the chat. We'd love to have you. But beyond that, just movie reviews, top 10 lists. A new thing I've started called IMDb profiles. If anybody wants to join me for one of them, I'm opening those up to people who would like to do them with me. So just come and check it out. See the one me and CP did about David Fincher, and if that seems like something you'd like to do with me, then get in touch, and we'll see what we can do. But yeah, it's been great chatting films with you, CP, once again, as always.
Thanks for stopping by. We had to figure something out, but it was either this or Twilight. So, and then I'll be on Brian's channel where we're going to talk about Lars von Trier. No, that's a bad joke. I'm sorry. So yeah, Bryan Lomax Movie Talk. When you want to search, it's Bryan Lomax Movie Talk, or if you're watching this in the future, which you probably will be, I'll have it down below. So yeah. Thanks.
Edge of Tomorrow this Thursday.
Yes. Thursday the 28th, Brian will have an Edge of Tomorrow commentary, which you might see somebody familiar on. And then, yeah, just follow me there and have fun, guys. We'll talk about more stuff in the future. For Bryan, thank you so much for stopping by. For everybody in the chat, thank you for hanging out and tagging along the whole way. I'm CP. Have a day.